All right, so good morning. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen. If I'm ever talking and you can't see what I'm sharing, somebody please tell me. I'm notorious for losing track of that. So I'm also, if you have a question, ask your question. I have 2 pages of faces here, so I can't necessarily see you unless your camera's on. So if you have a question, you know, unmute yourself for that question. I do want to hear questions if you have them. You know, don't feel like but try to stay on topic where we are. If we're not there yet, if you want to write down your question, and if we don't get to it before we're done, hopefully we'll get there. You will have enough time to get to it. Amy, I have no idea where that distortion is. Is everybody else, can you hear me clearly? Okay, so Amy, I think it's on your end. So we're going to go Hanna. We're going to go to the home page. And then we're going to go to Howard Hanna presentations. A show of hands, how many of you are using a Howard Hanna listing presentation now? Okay, got a few hands. Great, excellent. This is a very professional format. It looks great. Your competitors are not doing it. You're going to hear a lot of seasoned agents say, oh, I've never done a presentation. I just go in and get the listing. I'll tell you what, some seasoned agents have lost some listings because they didn't have a presentation. Whether they think that was why or not, I can guarantee you that if there are certain clients, if you go in prepared with everything, you are more likely to walk away with the appointment. So there's, you know, I want to make sure that you understand the value of this. Don't make your business decisions based on someone else's. Make your business decisions. You're the CEO. Make them based on what's going to make the best value for you. But if you use the tools, there's a reason we buy them. They work. All right, so we got into Howard Hanna presentations, and to create a new listing presentation, we're going to say create new. You have 4 categories: buyer, seller, buyer tour. That's going to help you get people from house A to house B when you're taking them around, showing them houses. And a non-listing is what we're going to do at 10:45. So for this morning, we're talking about a listing presentation. So we're going to click on seller and continue. So you can create your own template, and you can use templates that are already there. So let's use the seller template and continue. Prepared for, you must name them. So I'm just going to say class 12/2/2020 because I create so many things, I never know what they are unless I label them. So that should be true of you for maybe your client's name, it may be the address. What's the best way for you to remember what that presentation is? So when you go back, you recognize it and create it. Excuse me. Really, excuse me, I'm so sorry. So earlier I copied a MLS number. Let's see if I'm gonna get it on an active listing. I just went into my MLS and I picked one out. Yep, this is one of our local realtors' new listing. I thought that would be so pretty dressed up for Christmas. So all you do is you copy. I went to my board, I copied the MLS number, and then I pasted it into this square. You can type it in, you can type in, or you can copy it in. Copying to me is easier. So when I'm working on a presentation, I will often have my board open. And I often have the tax record open as well. Anybody tell me why I'm doing that? Why do I have those open on a different tab? Anybody?
You're going to need that various information, assess value, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and our board nicely has added all of these nice little things, so I don't always have to have the tax record open. But if I want extra detail, I have a lot of detail here so that when I'm doing my presentation, if there's something that's not filled out, I can go fill it out. She put in the subdivision. Good job, Karen. Why is putting in the subdivision a good idea? You're doing a listing presentation.
Because some people prefer one subdivision over another.
Right. Yeah, that subdivision may have something in particular. I lived in a subdivision that had a community pool with a lifeguard. I had a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old when I moved in. Can I tell you how wonderful that was? That was like the best thing ever. So I wanted to live in that specific subdivision. So if you're not putting these in, you may be missing someone who's looking specifically. The more I'm one of those crazy realtors. I believe the more blank spaces you have, the more opportunity you have to miss something. The more you fill things in, the better. So if you're not that person, you might want to think about it. Elementary school. If you're not sure, go to the school district. Call them. You can also look at their maps. They're online. Fill out all of this information. Fill out as much as you possibly can. I really think, and I think that when you're going to a listing agent, you know, as a listing agent, when you're going in to get a listing, when you're going to the sellers, your potential sellers, this shows that you're detail oriented. You know their house, you know their neighborhood, you know their community. This is what your listing presentation is all about. So you want to present yourself in the best possible light, having the most information and coming prepared to their home. A lot of realtors just walk in and say, I think your house is worth this X amount of dollars. And I've been doing this for a long time. Well, goody for you. Show me what you know about my house, what my neighborhood is. I'm not going to be an easy person, even before I was in real estate, for you to get my listing. You got to prove to me you know what you're doing and that you know you do your research. I like I dotters and T crossers. So I really think that the more you can do here, the better. So as
Margaret, if you don't have an MLS, if the house hasn't been listed, then you just skip that MLS number and there's no.
Oh, sure. You can then, you can also use a tax record. You can search, you can put in addresses. So you can create a listing here. But most homes, even new homes, new builds, will have had an MLS number, which will give you some basic information. It's when you're going back to those 20 and 30 years ago that you may have to be creating your listing. And that would be another class because that takes a while to show. But we can, if you need to, contact me and I'll show you how to walk through that. Okay. So once you get here, you're going to make sure you have a picture that you like. If you took a better picture for your presentation than what was in the MLS, like a picture from this week of their house, this picture might be 10 years old. If it's you haven't got this listing yet, you haven't gone out with your photographer. This is an active listing, so this is a current photo. Maybe this photo is 10 years old. If you drove by the house and took a current photo, saved it on your computer, you can then browse your computer and put up a current photo. That's going to show that you know what their house looks like today. So you would just browse, go to your pictures and find the picture of the house and then put it in. Look how that house changed. Holy cow. Structure changed, size changed, everything about that house changed. But we've seen houses that look a great deal different from the picture that was in the MLS from 6 or 7 years ago to today. So it can be very valid to change that picture. So the next thing you're going to want to do after you've filled in all of this information to the best of your ability is go to continue. And just keep filling out the information. So you're going to want to find comps. The system itself is going to give you everything that's about 10–15% above and below all of the parameters of the house that you have. So it's going to look for things active, pending, and sold that are 10 to 15% lower in price, higher in price, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and the dates of build. So it's going to be looking around those appraiser features. So then you're going to pick the ones that you think are most relevant. You're just going to click, when you hover over it, you'll get a little plus sign. If I don't want this one, but I think I would because of the price, I'm not going to want that one because this house is listed at 4 something. So I'm not going to use a 259. I'm going to go to the 459, 424, and maybe the 365, because maybe I want to show them what the difference is. Maybe they think their house is worth 440, but I think it's worth 385 because they're basing it on something on their neighbor's house and they don't know they have a completely finished walkout with an additional 1,500 square feet and a full bathroom and all of that downstairs, or an in-law suite. Maybe they don't know that, but if I do, it elevates me. The comp page is right here under search. And as you're following along and you're just going to continue, it's just going to walk you from one screen to the next. It's very simple. So I added those. I just clicked on that plus sign for the ones that I wanted. So here's my home. This is the one with a star on it is the address, the subject property. There's the word I want, my subject property. And these are the ones that I added. So what it's going to give me is a listing summary. It's going to show me a low, an average, and a high price. And it's going to show me the average baths, square footage, price, and price per square footage. Price per square footage is going to be really important. If you've got an average price per square foot that's $125 per square foot, and your number is bringing you out to 185, you likely have a problem in that neighborhood. This is not static. These update constantly. Yes, anything that changes in the MLS changes immediately. So that was a question in the chat. I can add a custom listing. So if I know a listing in this neighborhood, I can click on this box and I can add that listing. So maybe it didn't pull a comp that I wanted, but I know it's there. I can go ahead and add that one. I'm just going to go back a page. And I can view the listings on the map by clicking this box. So I want to see where they are. In some neighborhoods, this is going to be incredibly important because you're going to know that the houses on this side of the street were all built before, not on this particular map, but let's say on some of them, this particular area was all built before 1980. And on this side, these didn't go in until the 2000s. Sometimes I lived in a neighborhood where the entire street and the 2 streets that were connected were built in 1975. Across the street, a very similar neighborhood, one of the boundary streets, those were built 15 years later. Different construction, different builder, different sized homes, different quality. So those weren't comps. They looked like comps unless you knew that. So sometimes you're going to want to know, I got to eliminate this house over here because this is not the same neighborhood, right? Does everybody experience that in their career? You know that there's, if you're over on this street, you're great. And if you're over on this street, not so much. So this can be very helpful if you're the local expert and you know your neighborhoods. If you don't know your neighborhoods, do yourself a favor, pair up with a seasoned agent in your area. And when COVID's over, ask them to drive around with you and point out everything they know about the neighborhood. Have them pass their wisdom down to you. What's this neighborhood called? What do you know about this neighborhood? They know stuff that you can't even imagine. It's amazing. So by all means, learn from your peers. All right, so once you have your listings in and you have this information, you begin to be able to formulate a picture of what is important in the neighborhood to know and how you're doing with your listing on your house. If you're a new agent, take this information to your manager or a seasoned agent who is helpful to you and ask them if your numbers are good before you take it to your seller. Because you don't want to be going in with numbers that aren't relevant. Make sure that you're checking in. You know, so if you're in your first year of business, check in with somebody. There's lots of people who are willing to help you. And I can order these by active to sold. I can order them from distance, from the subject property. So I have a bunch of things here in this pull down. So what's important to your seller? What's important to you to show them? So these are a lot of different categories where you can help them. So then we're going to click that continue. And it's going to give me an estimated price. I can change this if I want to. I just highlight it and then I write in, you know, after doing my review, I think this house is worth $500,000. Well, I might need another 0 in there. There we go. And I can make a range. So let's say 480. Nope, that's not a 0. Add the 0 to 500. So now I've changed the range. I'm going to get my listing summary. And remember, your sellers will have this in a web form. They can look at it in their computer and it's going to change live. So as things change in the MLS, within 15 to 20 minutes of that change, it's going to change when they open it up. Does everybody understand that, how that works? Okay.
No, I don't.
So this is it's not static, it's a live presentation. So when it's online, obviously when you print it out, it's what you print out. But when it's live, every time they open it, if something's changed, it will show a change. So if it went from active to pending, it will show it's now pending. If it was withdrawn from the market or sold, that will show as well. If there was a price change, that will change. So all of those numbers will change as the MLS changes. They're connected. Does that make sense, Evelyn?
It does. Will it also add a new listing within that price range?
It's not going to add a new listing unless you go back and select it. So that would be a great place to add that custom listing. I can go in and add that and I can send them a new CMA. You're probably not going to want to do that. That starts to get a little bit too, this is your listing presentation, right? So you're going to go in once. So you should be doing your listing presentation as close to your presentation as possible, night before, the morning of, if it's later in the afternoon. So you're not going to want to have days between when you're creating this presentation and bringing it to your client. Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So then I can go to continue. And now I have all of the pages that I think are important to me. So I can check and see these are the ones that were set up in the sellers automatically. If I don't like a page, maybe I don't want to have the text to video, or maybe you don't have it in your area. I can just click on it, and when it's green, I click on the little 3 dots. I call it the snowman, and I can say remove. If I want to see what the slide looks like, I can click on it. I can click the little snowman and I can view it as a PDF. So this is what side-by-side comparisons look like. These are terrific because it shows the picture of the house. It says what the status is, and then it has every category right next to each other. Again, the more information you have on yours, the better. Shows you know their home. And it's going to give better information. It has everything. It has some, any handwritten or any notes that were in there. So the kitchen includes the washer, the refrigerator, all of these items. So this is I really like the side-by-side comparison. But again, it may not be important to your seller for some reason. If it's not, if you know them well enough to know that, you may remove it. So to add or remove, or to just view, you just go to those 3 dots, view it or remove it.
Margaret,
Okay.
does it show the photos of each of those properties at the top there?
It does.
Inside?
On the side-by-side, it sure does. So when I do the view of the PDF, see the pictures are right here, Evelyn?
Does it show the 20, 30 photos inside the house, the kitchens, the baths?
Oh, it will, but in the side-by-side comparisons, yes. So who's the first person you should do a presentation for and send it to?
Me.
Yes. So do a presentation, do a mock-up. and send it to yourself, because that's the only way you're going to know what a client's going to see. You need to see what everything looks like. So to add pages to my presentation, I can go to Add Library. And I'm going to go to my brokerage pages. I have 179 choices. It's a little too much. Try not to be cumbersome. I have New New York folder. I have frequently asked questions. These are things you're going to have to just go and take a peek at and look and see. I love these checklists for moving day. I think these are terrific. I like staging your home. So what I do for myself is I have a listing presentation that's about selling the house, about pricing the house. So I give that to my client. I also give my clients something from buy side. I give my clients the seller or the buyer essential guide, which I'll show you here in a second. That's not the one I want. There's also, I like these selling process and buying process. I think these are great sheets to show them when we do this, then this is the next step. But I give them several things across our transaction. So there's the CMA, the Howard Hanna presentation. I'm going to give them that as a standalone. I may leave them with a seller's essential guide. That is, let me go to the right place. I think that's in, here it is. So the seller's guide is 19 pages long. I've asked them to name these pages. They haven't done it yet because you can't tell which each page is. You guys should print each one of these out and have, so you can see which one pages you may want to use. I would go in and print out all 19 pages so I can see it. So I know which page and number them. So you know which pages you want. This is a terrific presentation on selling a home. And there's one for buyers as well. It has how to stage your house, how to evaluate your property, things, I'm just clicking randomly, so I'm not even sure which pages I'm going to get. What's the value of your home based on? Who's asking the question?
Yeah,
Yep,
question for you, sorry. So to clarify, are those separate presentations or are those pages that you can add into your CMA?
So this seller's guide is, I think it's a separate presentation.
Okay.
So I don't do it as a part of the Howard Hanna, my listing presentation. I do my listing presentation. I fill out my contract details. I take an MLS that says, or data sheet that's as filled out as I can possibly get it with highlights. So I get those unknowns answered, and then I go back and do it on Authentisign. And then as soon as we've got a contract, I'm going to drop off a seller's guide.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I might drop it off with a little bottle of wine and a couple of cookies and say, here, look this over in your free time, in a nice brochure with a linen cover, because I like those extra steps. Mm-hmm. Even in COVID, I could leave it on the front porch, right?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
So I like these extra drop-offs. And, price is the last thing we talk about when we're doing our presentation, but I think this is a standalone.
Margaret, if
yes.
we select, let's say, 14 pages out of this guide, can you show us how to print that out?
Oh, sure. All you got to do is click on it. And you can go to print view. And you're just going to hit the little printer right here. And it'll bring you right to a print page. It'll generate the PDF and you can just print them right out. Okay. So, and if you don't know how to ever find the print page, if you guys right click on your mouse, it will bring you right to this little screen here and you can print. You can do that on anything. So it's a nice little cheat. Printing is one of the easier things for you to do. So I really like the essential guide. Yep.
So let me just be clear with the seller's guide. And you said you would drop this off as a separate presentation. Is this something you do after you already got the listing and then here are some tips to help get your house ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the seller's essential guide is going to walk them through the process. It's going to tell them how we arrived at a price. I may take one or two of these pages out and put it in my listing presentation, like how a price is determined. I'm going to give that to them. It depends on my client and it depends on their questions, because we have to be fluid in our conversation when we're having a listing presentation. If I start at A and I go B through Z, and they want A, M, D, F, I need to flow with them, right? My presentation has to be fluid. It has to flow with the conversation they are asking for, not the conversation I want to deliver. So I have to practice this so many times so that no matter where they ask a question, I'm prepared to go with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And because a lot of times, and then if I'm on page 1 and I've got 26 pages, and they say, Maggie, we're ready to sign a deal, shut up and get your contract out. And then go back to those details after you get that contract signed. The minute they say we're ready to go get the contract signed, salespeople of every kind that I know talk themselves out of sales by thinking they've got to wait until a specific point in the sale to close. If they're ready to close, you're ready to close. So make sure you get that part right. It's very, very important. And I know my seasoned agents here are smiling because they've all been there. They were ready to go on for 45 minutes and somebody said 2 minutes in, "No, listen, you don't need to sell me. I'm done. I want to work with Kate." There you go. All right. So you need to review these pages to see what makes sense to you and for you. And then let's see, I want to make sure I get everything here. So if I want to email the presentation, so let's go back to my library, my pages. So let's say this is what I want. I can save it as a template. If I created a new template, I added pages that I liked, I can save it as a template and I would name it my seller presentation or something so I know which one this is. Then once I'm done, I can send it to them. First, I can view it. I can view it as a web document and I can view it as a print document. I can send it to them by just clicking the envelope with the word send. I can send it as a PDF. A PDF is static. It's not going to change. So I'm going to send it as a presentation. The presentation is live. I may want to save the PDF in case that neighborhood is changing rapidly. I may want to show what happened on the day that I presented and what happened 2 weeks later. So I might want to archive that PDF. So I may want to save that one. And I could send that to myself. So then you're just going to fill in their email, subject, greeting if you want it, and your message. Send a copy to me. Okay, if you want to send a copy to you, do so. As with everything in real estate, I've just been working on my CE credits. We need to keep these things, you know, and keep a record of the communications that we've had and that we've sent. So make sure you've got files that are labeled. I like to have on my email buyers and sellers for each year. And then in my buyers, I do it by property. You can do it by name or property, whatever works best for you. I do property because if you have somebody that buys more than one, it makes it easier for me to find it. So I usually do like 123 Maple Street, you know, and the person's name, Joe Buyer, so that I have all of the information so I know what I'm opening up. So then you just send. So that's how you send the PDF. The same with the Seller's Essential Guide. Once you've created the Seller's Essential Guide, and I should go in and do that and save that as a template, put all the pages in, just say Seller's Essential Guide where it has all the pages. And so I can just easily send it over and over and over again. And I would name that my Seller's Essential Guide, my Buyer's Essential Guide. And then I can just save it. And I haven't done it yet, but I will. I'll try to do that today, actually. And then if I want to create a quick flyer on this, I'm just going to go home because it's faster. And I'm going to go to my little 3 dots, my snowman. And I'm going to create a quick flyer. And this is what I can take without marketing. I can just print these out. I can take it right to my listing. Make sure if you're creating these yourself, use decent weight paper. Don't use the really super thin printing paper. Make sure it's got a little heft. It feels better in a client's hand. And things that feel better, I used to work for Kinko's. Things that feel better, they tend to save. Things that feel cheap, they tend to throw away. So use a little higher grade of paper. And it's not expensive, paper's cheap, but just get that little, feel it. There's a difference. There really is a difference. Pick your layout, and you can have a landscape. Let's just do one of those for fun. It's going to give you these. It's going to give you a title. Say, this house looks really beautiful in the evening. Say, welcome home. Welcome to your sunset. I don't know, wine and cheese at sunset and your beautiful whatever. Give it a title that's going to tell a story. There's a difference between giving the facts and telling a story. Do you guys want to be delivered facts or do you like a story? Somebody tell me. You can do them both together, but we're more likely to read a story than a whole bunch of facts. My husband's, a PhD psychologist. He can read those kinds of books that would, I'm like, with just detail and scientific fact, and I can't get through it. Give me a story and I'm fine. Shows again how you handpicked listings. Hang on one sec. So you're going to put in your title, hit next. You're going to click your main image. If you didn't like that main image, remember this is a flyer. This isn't an MLS thing. You can put in a picture that you like of the home. So if you liked a different picture, you can go ahead and select it if you want to pick from the MLS. So this is going to go back to the listing. I'm going to select that image. And then I'm going to go next, additional images, MLS, and I can pick whichever images I want. I'm going to select one image at a time. Depending on, this one has 3 pictures that I can choose. And then I'm going to add my description. Make sure you print out 1 before you print out 50. You want to make sure the text fits and it looks nice on the page. Does that make sense, everybody? And please don't use all caps. It's hard to read. It's a pet peeve. You can do whatever you want. But I find when the whole thing is in caps, it's very difficult to read. I like to capitalize certain highlights. I can draw attention that way. But you're the CEO of your business. You want to use all caps, go ahead. And then you're going to make sure your price is correct. It should pull automatically. And then you're going to have FHA and Realtor and next, and then you're going to view print. And that's what it would look like. And if it's on a little heavier weight paper, it's going to look a little nicer and be nicer to hand out to your clients. So I'm going to jump back very quickly because I was asked to show how we picked listings. So I'm going to go back into my edit. And I had my MLS number. Let's see if it's still there. Copy, nope, cancel, it's already there. When I go to search, it's automatically going to give me some parameters. If I want to change those, I can go up here and change the price. I can change the numbers of bed or bath. I can change, I can go into the filters and I can change any or all of these. Just make sure that as you're changing, you're not eliminating everything. So before I ever get to my presentation, I've already done some CMA stuff on Real Scout. I will have done my MLS. I may have looked at our PR, and I may see what I'm getting from different sources, but I'm kind of crazy. So I do a ton of research. So it's really going to depend on how you run your business. I like to get as much as I can. Yep, Evelyn.
Margaret, how do you manually put in, let's say, 10 MLS numbers that you've already got the numbers, and you
that's
just
easy.
want to put them in?
So you can just go to your MLS number right here, and you can just put them right in. So if I have an MLS number, I can just type it right in and it'll pull it up. I don't have any right here sitting, and I can just search for it and then select each and every one. It takes about a minute if I've got 10 of them pulled up. And that's a great way to do it.
Thank you.
It's often what I do, Evelyn. All right, so that is.
You just separate each one.
Pardon me? Is there another question?
Yeah, do you just separate each MLS listing by a comma or a semicolon? Or
I just do one at a time. You can do it with a comma, I think. I do it, I just don't like to fuss with things. So let me do this, Control C. Where am I? Get to the right presentation. Here we are.
I believe you can comma and space and do.
I think so too. Let me go back and grab another one. I never do it that way. So, and again, I wasn't prepared to teach this morning. So let's see. Let's go. Let's go grab one. Wrong one, this one.
Are you adding a space after the comma?
Yep. So I added a space after the comma and it pulled it right up.
Thank you.
So there we go. We learned together. All right, I'm going to end this call so I can start the next call. If you guys have residual questions, by all means, send me an email. You can call me. My phone number is 585-430-9759. Be aware that I'm a trainer and I'm on, I don't know, 9 million meetings lately. I will get back to you. It may not be immediate. So I try to get back as quickly as I can, but I'm happy to answer questions if I can. So if you're coming back at 10:45, you'll need to drop this call and come back and get on the next one. So thanks, guys.
Can you repeat your phone number again, please?
Sure, it's 585-430-9759.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye,
Great
guys.
job. Thank you,
Thanks.
Margaret.
Yeah,
Margaret,
call me Maggie. Talk to you later.
Is that a message phone? Wow.